Hello and welcome once again to Tileford. It's been a few weeks since I last shared an update video with you, so wanted to pop a video up to really just give you an insight into some of the work that has been taking place on layout over the course of the last few weeks, and also really to, I guess, just give you a flavour of some of the things that I'm going to be working on over the next few weeks and over the holiday period. So I hope you enjoy it, and as always, please feel free to comment. All your thoughts are very, very welcome and appreciated. So one of the jobs that's been going on has been wiring up these CR signals, 4-aspect signals, and I've got them attached to Heathcote boards underneath the layout, which are operated by sensing movement overhead. So these plain 4-aspect signals, there's about 4 or 5 of them on the layout. I've got those installed. I've also bought some of these directional indicators with the feather as well. These are proving a little bit more challenging for me to wire up, and the guys at Heathcote have very kindly said that they will wire one up to one of the boards for me, so I can see how to do it properly, because I have been struggling. Electrics really isn't my thing, but I'm hopeful that once I get that back, I'll be able to replicate it around the layout, and I think these will look really, really good when they're all in situ. So that's certainly something that I've been working on, and something that I'll be doing a fair bit more of over the coming weeks. In my last update video, I think I'd started to lay the cable trunking using the scale model scenery kits, and I finally finished the trunking all the way around the layout, which took some time and a fair bit of patience, but actually once you get into the swing of it, it's really, really easy to do. So the cable trunking is now in situ. Previously I've used, I think it's the Wills plastic trunking, and this is so much better, I think, particularly if you're going around corners, which obviously I am. It's so much easier to work with. So yeah, big thumbs up to Scale Model Scenery for the cable trunking. Really, really very, very good. In addition to laying the cable trunking, I've also started to add some of the detailing on the tracks themselves. So as you can see, you've got the orange tubing which runs underneath the line for carrying cables. I've also added the dummy point motors to the points. I also have got from Scale Model Scenery just some of the line side detail that you'll see. So we've got manhole covers, we've got catch pits, all of the manhole covers, you know, all the stuff that actually, the paraphernalia that accompanies a modern day railway line. So quite happy with how that's all going. I've also, as I hope you can see, painted the track sides using the Woodland Scenics track painting pens. For the most part I've just used the steel colour, but on some of the less used lines I've actually used the rust colour as well. Not quite finished with that yet. I'll go back and have another go. You can see here the crossover hasn't really been touched yet, but for the most part I've tried to get the track painted up, which I think adds just a little bit extra realism. One of the other little projects that I've done has just been to put in place this trackside walkway, which runs from the end of the platform obviously to one of the equipment cabinets. This again is a Scale Model Scenery kit, and it's very, very simple to put together, and I think adds a certain amount of realism. I plan to use the same kit on the other side of the tracks around the signal box, but as I say, so far very easy to put together, and I think adds a certain amount of realism to the whole station area. I've also added the AWS boxes, which I got from Pico, and gave them a coat of primer paint, and then painted them up yellow and weathered them to fit in and make them look suitably grubby. So they're in place. I've also got the grids as well to go on the track at some point, but that's probably one that I'll leave a little bit later. I'll probably put those on after I've ballasted the whole of the main line. In the last update I shared with you, I'd just started work on putting the station together, and I've done a little bit more on that. Main thing really been putting this retaining wall, which is from the Hornbury range, which now runs the length of the platform. I managed to pick this up on eBay, and I think it certainly does the job. A few other things that I've been working on. If we just get down here, I've put in place gates and fencing and the anti-trespass matting, which again is a scale model scenery item at the platform ends. So haven't actually done the third platform yet, but on the first two platforms, those are in place. And again, I'm happy with those. In fairness, it's nice just to do a bit of modelling rather than spending all of my time doing electrics and that kind of thing. So I'm happy with how these look. These were, again, I think a Will's kit, and I've had to buy a couple of them just to get these gates in, really. But I think yeah, definitely happy with the look of those, and I think reflective of something that you'd see at a lot of stations nowadays. So one of the other things I've been working on over the course of the last few weeks has been to put together a footbridge. That there isn't a sort of ready to run footbridge that spans 3 platforms. So rather than have 2 resin footbridges, which I don't think would be particularly realistic, I've decided to kit bash and create one for myself. So the donor for this footbridge is one of the very ancient Hornby Duplo footbridges. I bought a couple of them off of eBay. They were pretty cheap and pretty dishevelled, in truth. So I'm using that as the starting point. I've fixed the 2 together, and now it's really a case of just using that as the structure, building around it. So I've added rigidity by putting some bases in place, and I'll be using those as the basis for walls and that kind of thing. The idea I've got is to try and come up with something which is, I guess, a bit of a combination of some of the footbridges that you'd see on the Western Main Line around Reading. So I've got a fairly clear idea in my own mind of what it is I'm trying to achieve here. As you can see, I've started to put in some of the plastic card and got that painted up. There'll be a heck of a lot more work to be done on it. The idea is that obviously you've got the footbridge at the front. At the back we've got a space there which will be lift shafts. So I've got the lift doors from scale model scenery, and there'll be lifts going up there as well. So yeah, that's really been taking up a reasonable amount of time. It's just quite a nice thing to have a go at for half an hour or so of an evening, and see how it comes out. But I'm hopeful that it will look the part. On Caversham Central, you may remember I actually had a very, very big footbridge, and that was based on the new station building at Reading. And this is going to be smaller, but I hope a bit better in terms of the construction. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this. I'll obviously share updates with you as we go along. So that's it from me for this quick update. I hope that you like what you've seen. I feel as though slowly I'm making progress. The next few weeks, I guess, I'll really need to just try and get the rest of these signals, the working signals, working. So unfortunately a bit more time on my head underneath the baseboards. Then I think I will probably move on to just finishing off the track work, making sure that everything works properly before I then get on to the fantastic job of ballasting. I can smell your envy. Once that's all done, then, you know, I'm sure in between doing the ballasting I'll need to do some slightly more interesting scenic work, and I guess the footbridge will probably provide a bit of light relief from the ballasting. Anyway, as always, thank you for checking in, and as I said earlier, any comments, suggestions, ideas, thoughts or encouragement, all very gratefully received. In the meantime, have a great run up to Christmas, and I will post an update as soon as I've got something that I think you'd be interested in. Thanks a lot.